Speaker.
Honourable Phil Heatley.
Mr. Speaker, I happily rise in support of this legislation, the Housing Accords and Special Housing Areas Bill, because what it does is it fulfils the suite of initiatives that this government has worked on across housing. What we've done is we've made it very clear to the electorate, and certainly the reflection back to us from builders, developers, those buying a home, those in the banking sector, is that there is no silver bullet. That the New Zealand First party policy, I guess, of attacking Asians and saying, you know, no more Asians in the country. Look, that whole immigration policy, that's not the silver bullet. We're saying that, or the banks, builders, developers are saying that the green policy of just writing a cheque and going into more debt, the country going into more debt, but the green policy of borrowing money overseas to build people houses, I guess, and hand that over to them with minimal contribution from those people is not the way to go. And of course the Labor Party policy, which is, well, confusing, it's difficult to follow, is also not the way to go. So bankers, essentially builders, developers, first home buyers, they're saying to us, look, there is no silver bullet. There's a suite of measures that you have to take, and this one really is the last of those that we're putting on place. We've been interested in the demand side. So the National Party's looked very hard at welcome home loans, where we provide insurance for those who are borrowing, so a borrower's insurance so that they can borrow. KiwiSaver, deposit there as well. On interest rates, colleagues across the House and all parties, can't deny the statistics that interest rates under this current government for the last 4 years have sat at around sort of 5 and 6% compared to 5 or 10 years ago under the previous government. The spend and tax Labor government previously, where interest rates were sitting at sort of 9, 10, 11% consistently. And I don't think New Zealanders have forgotten that interest rates were at around 9, 10, 11% under the previous government. And they appreciate the fact that good economic management under our team has seen interest rates sit at around 5 or 6%. Those percentage differences are, 4 or 5% between a Labor government and National government, 4 or 5% on a $300,000 mortgage. Well, 5% on a $300,000 mortgage is, $15,000 in interest a year. It's an awful lot of money. 1% on 100,000 is 1,000. 5% on $300,000 mortgage is $15,000 interest a year. Under Labor policy, that's an awful lot of money each year to come up with, and that's something that we've focused on as interest rates. Also, of course, getting Housing New Zealand to better use those quarter-acre and half-acre sections. A lot of subdivision going on public and Housing New Zealand land, where we're subdividing, using the proceeds to build a new state house, and using the land that is subdivided to also build houses for private, for families to buy privately is an excellent idea. The use of Crown-owned, state-owned or Housing New Zealand-owned land. We see that at Tamaki, obviously we see it at Hobsonville, and also the social housing unit, the investment there that we're putting into the social housing sector, where we're going sort of dollar for dollar, sometimes $2 for $1 investment in housing as well. But this bill specifically looks at the last piece of that puzzle. So not just interest rates, not just welcome home loans, not just subdividing Crown-owned land, not just those other actions that we're taking, but also looking at the land supply across New Zealand. So this legislation, what it will do, it will mean that more land is freed up for subdivision, particularly in high-demand areas like Auckland. Now, there is a concern from those on the far left that we're, carving up New Zealand's beautiful countryside, but it is a great reminder to people when you consider that New Zealand residential housing sits on around 1% of New Zealand's land. So about 1% of New Zealand's land, give or take a bit, it's not that accurate, but about 1% of New Zealand's land is actually under residential housing. So even if you doubled it, it'd only be 2%. So the absurdity of claiming that we're taking over New Zealand's green space or keen agricultural land, the absurdity is brought to the point when you consider only 1% of New Zealand's land is actually under residential housing. So this is good legislation. I acknowledge Auckland Council for how they've worked hard to make it even better in Select Committee, and I commend it to the House as part of a suite of measures that we are taking right across the board there. I commend it to the House.
Dr. Rajan Prasad.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it was interesting hearing from the former Minister of Housing about his ideas. They were so successful that